There's so much, really so much information for me in the costumes out there, but it was also just to get a sense of, kind of tell yourself a little bit better what it was happening at the time. My grandparents taught me a lot about the Depression because they were Depression era kids, teens. And so it was a part of my life all the time. So I had a sense, but to really dive in and look and see, books and internet and, connecting with the University of Washington, they were incredibly helpful in their research and giving us anything we needed and so supportive of the film. And so there's a lot out there. And then, you do a broad overall scope to see what's happening in 1936, 34, 35, 36, and what's the world look like. And then once you get those characters down, you dive deeper and individualize them, because then you have to give them, in the book, it's, he's very good about describing each one of these gentlemen and where they come from precisely. And the documentary, the PBS documentary, helped so much as well, because you could see it, and they had so much stuff that was so, wonderful to see, and that you could get yourself really dialed in. And so I had so much fun. I researched this for several months just because it was a joy to do. I met them the first day they arrived in the UK to start training. I went to the first initial day. We had gathered some rowing practice stuff for them, just modern day stuff, so they could have a kit together. So I met them all, and then they came and got measured. And of course, I think Sam, who plays Roger Morris, would say, he says this all the time, "I remember you asked me, Jenny, if I was going to get skinnier." And thinking, and they have completely transformed themselves. Who, of course, you would think so. They worked really diligently at the rowing, because the gentlemen, the real rowers from 1936 were different. Bodies were different. The exercises were different. The way you exercise. So they really leaned out in a very different way. But for me, the lucky part was, they did come from not so wonderful backgrounds, and nobody at the time really had a lot of money. So if they didn't fit perfect, that was better than not, So by them losing weight, it looked like they maybe hadn't been eating, as the script in the book kind of described, that was the only meal they would get once they got to school. So it was really helpful, I think, to push, but I didn't have to change a lot even from the beginning, because it kind of gave that sense that what we wanted it to look like. Because we go to 3 different major cities, we needed to tell a difference between them. So Seattle, and also to sell sort of the time period, but also the Depression. Seattle is someplace very different. It was a very young city at the time, and so it's very different than something like, say, New York City. So I really wanted to tell the difference, and then boys landing in New York City, and oh my gosh, this is something they never thought they'd be a part of. So big and so grand. So Seattle was very sort of muted tones, with some rust and very autumnal kind of that feeling of warmth, but yet it was a little bit more down. And then New York City was white. Everything felt, like it was this place, and it was summertime and just felt more rich, like it was coming up. And then I thought about, for Germany, I really wanted to make it like the beautiful black and white photographs, in a sense, where it was kind of muted down again, but a little bit rich. It was important for Hitler to sell to the world at this time, and when you read this a lot, that, everything was A-okay, and this is the booming city, and so everybody was in their best. But I also wanted it to feel very muted as well, and darker, kind of sinister in a little bit of a way.